You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real crime.
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And today, I'm going to be concluding with the courtroom testimony and the death penalty phase of Eric Mickelson for the murder of Charles Martin. What we're really getting at is that Mickelson confessed to killing Christy O'Pry, and they never found her body, y'all. So this is the very last part. The prosecution gave its opening statement in the death penalty phase. The defense had their say-so. Now the prosecution is getting up to do the final closing arguments and listen because it's good. And then we'll be concluding the series. So when I say the court, it's the judge. And then when I say the attorney's name, that I'll be reading the attorney's statements, okay? So the court, we will be in recess for about 10 minutes. It says a short recess was had, and it says the court, and they're bringing the jury back in. Ladies and gentlemen, let me announce once again, there's to be no cell phone use in the courtroom. I've said this a few times. During the closing arguments, the deputy sheriff had to seize a cell phone or two. Please make sure that there's no cell use. There is one attorney, I understand, that was even playing a computer game during the closing arguments. I'm sorry to say. Please tell me that's not true. But in any event, no phone use at all. If you use your cell phone, you give it up. If the sheriff sees you doing it, it's confiscated. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No recording. And all of this is by law. So no recording of anything in here. No use of cell phone. If you use a cell phone and I see you doing it, or a deputy sheriff sees you doing it, it will have to confiscate it. And I hate that. I have to even make this statement, but it's the rules of the court, so please abide by them. And the record should reflect the defendant is present with all his lawyers. Is the state ready to proceed? Mr. Hall, yes, sir. The court, bring in the jury. So they weren't in yet, y'all. The court, bring in the jury if they're ready. The jury's returned to the courtroom. The court, please be seated. And rebuttal, closing argument. Rebuttal, closing argument. Mr. Hall, y'all, that's for the prosecution. Mr. Hall. Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, mercy. Mercy is what he's asking for. I want you to consider right now the truth of what I'm saying to you. Mercy to the guilty is punishment to the victim. That's what it is. That's what this is. In this world, it's not mercy that we're lacking. I tell you, what's lacking in this world is justice. People cry every day about how wrecked our system is. It's because evidence like that walks people like Eric Mickelson. Is that the mercy we're asking for? And he plays a tape. That's what this case is about. Is that the grace that we saw? Mercy and grace? That's an insult to you. Plays in another part of the tape. See what I mean? You think about that family. That's what this case is about. This case is about the Martin family. This case is not about, oh my God, calling my mama in here to beg for my life. He didn't give Mr. Martin any quarter, did he? Yeah, we talked about that, didn't we? Yeah, we talked about having the room kicked open, being advanced years, being scared out of your mind, and having somebody come in there and choke the life out of you? Christy O'Pry, we didn't call her family, did we? No. We didn't give her any second shots, did we? You heard his words. I choked her out. She just didn't even move, and he does that because he likes his victims meek. He picked on the most vulnerable. You should hate him. You should despise him. He should disgust you. The court. Do you need the lights dim? Mr. Hall. It's okay, Your Honor. Whatever the court's pleasure. I'd ask otherwise, and I've got people working, but whatever the court is comfortable with. The court. If you want them dim, we'll dim them. Mr. Hall. It's fine, Your Honor. We'll get back to the dimming. One thing that you ought to know about our system, like when we look at these doctors who came in here and the defense that has been proffered to you and other things that you may have noticed about this case that is constantly true. Whenever anybody is in trouble, they instantly turn into the scapegoat. Everybody is putting down on me. The poor state of Louisiana is just coming down and accusing me of this murder. You know, they don't even dignify Christy O'Pry's death with an admission. During voir dire, they had just kind of peppered through, really sopped through their arguments. They said, well, you know, he took responsibility. He cooperated with the police. Even read you a little thing from Detective Gordon. Detective Gordon is telling him whatever he needs to keep that case being solved. That's what Detective Gordon is doing. Do you think Detective McConnell is Eric Mickelson's friend? Did you make that mistake? Was that too hard for you to fathom? Because they sure do want you to believe that. They want to humanize him in any way they can. Well, I would agree from their defense point of view, he needs that because of the egregious nature of what he has done. You know that picture I put up first, and I don't want to keep harping it up because I really don't like just beating you to death with these things. But I want those images seared in your mind like they are seared in mine. And I call that one the silent scream. And boy, you can just see Mr. Martin. You can see the horror coming out of him, right? Well, that's what he needs, right? Because I'm talking about our sense of justice, our basic sense of what's right and wrong. I'm talking about why we have this system, right? Why is death an option? I'm talking about really old law. I'm talking about something like I can express best through the Roman concept of lex talionis. The deed done should be equaled in the punishment rendered. Does that make sense? We've heard it before. Life for a life, bruise for a bruise, strike for a strike. That is what will bring parity here to what happened, and even that only approaches it. Even that is in all these legal trappings. Look at all what we had. He's got to go through this process, and he gets everything our law affords him, everything that he denied his victims. And you think about that family. You think about why we have a system here where a judge sits in front of us and lawyers come and advocate because those people need to feel justice. What does Paige Dowden think? What does Jordan think? What does Phil Martin think? What does Cindy or Cynthia Grove think? What does Tracy Trent think? What does Martin Grove think? What do all those children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren think in their hearts every day besides the fear that he inoculated them with? You know, when their dad had to spend the night with them every night for years on end, Stacy tearfully said, that may be at an end now, but may not. You don't think stuff like that is going to affect them the rest of their lives? You know, my friend Bill, he told you very well exactly that kind of sick hope that people in that position rely on. I mean, the idea that Christy O'Pry is dead is not dead and left her daughter, her dog, her clothes, every single thing that she had, and just whisked away in the middle of a guy who was admitting to killing somebody else, cut them up, taking them directly to the body parts. And then when all that matches up, and that somehow the rest of what we have to say, even through the evidence, even though the evidence heavily suggested is untrue, is ludicrous, not worthy of your belief, not worthy of your consideration. In fact, there is a rule of law that is frequently read in the guilt phase. I believe it was in this case. But it says, if you think that a witness has deliberately testified falsely, you are justified in disbelieving every single word that witness tells you. Well, that's some sort of logic. Same sort of logic ought to apply where you know that the defense has been this disingenuous with you. Oh, he didn't have a specific intent to kill. He was under the domination of somebody else at the time, except for the fact that he's done it before. He's planned it. I will tell you where Christy O'Pry is right now, and why she's not going to walk through that door is because she's in the BFI, the city dump. That's where she is. It's horrifying to think about her body parts are out there now. Her torso has followed dust to dust. That's why we can't find it. It's over 11 years when we start to try. It's too hard to put the pieces back together, but you got the physical evidence at the bottom of that pond that corroborates his statements. You know, this idea that the treehouse didn't exist is preposterous. He said it existed at that time, and he's out there doing these things to Christy. Oh, well, yeah, well, there's that. I tell you, in the South, we have a lot of different traditions, you know, but this is very much the South. You could tell from the temperatures outside every day. And one of those things that's shared among many of us is the idea of an open casket funeral. Not everybody does it, you know. Some folks want to just go see their loved one and maybe just have a private moment, but the casket itself is closed. But we've all been to funerals where you have got the long line and everybody has a final little touch, you know, And he is so vile, he even denied them that last basic, most essential closure. Not even that, right? It's not that I just took a person out. It's that I did horrible things beyond that, that makes this case so rich in need for the death penalty. Any verdict you render that is anything less than death, 100% consent, to the extent that somebody says, well, I listen to these doctors. This motion of mercy appeals to me. Anything hurts that family. Hurts the victims who we're trying to restore order for the best we can. And the best we can is death. And it is incumbent upon you to do it for all of us. I personally enjoy responsibility. It is something that steeps me in purpose. It steeps me in why I get up, why my feet hit the ground. When I look into the eyes of my daughter, I am proud because I know I am doing her right. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey, y'all. Changing my wardrobe from summer to fall, it's never easy. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore. Ensure my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. And there's nothing easier than going to Quince and choosing these high-quality items, like cashmere sweaters from $50, pants for every occasion, washable silk tops, and so much more. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes, and I love that. I got the stainless steel Link Apple Watch band for $59.90. It's heavy duty, it's awesome, and it's like $100 less than I could find anywhere else. And I also got a 100% organic cotton fisherman quarter zip up sweater. The color is alabaster. Man, I can't wait to wear that this fall. And Cindy got the Mongolian cashmere boat neck sweater in heather gray. And I'm telling you, these are classic pieces at a fraction of the price. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/RLRC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/RLRC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/RLRC. You'll thank me later. I don't know who these people are for you, but I know you all have them, and that's who is counting on you. Every single one of them is because you've got to do the right thing. There's only one right thing, You could try and do the easy thing. The easy thing to do is just, hey, we can't make up our minds. Let's go. But tell me a time in your life where you've seen where the easy thing was the right thing. And everything that's worthwhile doing takes a little bit of work to do. It takes a little bit of determination. It takes some mental. That's why you were selected. You're the cream of the crop, you know? And I need you to have it now. I tell you, Mr. Price has a nice way of speaking. I actually like his voice very much. But as he was speaking, it was one of the hardest things I've had to sit through in my life and listen to all of that as he just kind of droned on with that nice voice of his. And I thought, I got kind of sleepy in the courtroom just a little bit. I felt that. I don't know if it's just because of my position or if it was more universal than that. I think it is. But that kind of haze, if we let it get down on us, if we don't look at what the evidence is, if we don't keep that truth in our way, we will get lost and not know the way. The thing he said went on about Angola and what happens in Angola. There's not been any evidence as to what happens in Angola. Now, I could tell you outside of this case all day long anything you want to know about Angola. I do a lot of stuff down there, but there's no evidence that there's not drugs in prison. There's no evidence that people don't get killed in prison daily. There's no evidence that you have a loss of contact with your family. There's no evidence that any of the things that he said would be so horrible or true. I'm not trying to tell you prison is a nice place, because it's not. But I think we all know this notion of how the prison systems in the United States are becoming more and more joke-like on a regular basis. I want you to consider the effect of that, because whether it is the most horrible thing your mind can imagine, or whether something more true pops in your head about how our prison system is, life is still life. As he draws breath, he can draw enjoyment. As he draws enjoyment, he can have contact with his family. All the things that he has taken away from everybody else. I guess you just can't put any parallel between death and even the most miserable life. That's how I would say it. Because as long as I'm moving, I'm trying, and I can still do, I can still find some worth, I can still find something to feel good about, he doesn't deserve any of those things. There's got to be a parity here. Remember, our concept of justice becomes our laws? Without the sword to enforce, the meaning of the words are just words, right? Who does your verdict speak to? Everybody is watching what you're doing. It's not just a packed courthouse. Everybody. You know, he made a nice recitation in his argument, and I know I've told you already how I feel about Mr. Price's voice. I think he's a nice person outside. And I'm having to advocate on different sides. We're friends, but in that way, he gave this nice idea of charity and mercy. And the good thing about being on my side of it is that I get to say, even though his lawyer says this is what Mr. Mickelson says. This is about Christie. He plays a portion of the confession tape, y'all. This is what he says about Christie. Again, he plays the part about having sex with Christy and murder and everything else. There we go, right? Hitting on all cylinders now, right? I don't care how you dress it up, right? Is that somebody who's just making some stuff up? Plays another portion of the tape, y'all. He made sure of that. Plays another portion of the tape, y'all. Right? That's why she's not here. Right? Birds picked her clean. Left her out in the open, okay? You have so much when you're in my position that you want to say, that you want to do, that you want to get across to the jury, and you never know when something is too much. We heard hours of argument before I stood up, but I want you to remember back to my initial closing argument, when I took pains to show you what a liar Eric Mickelson is, and I did it through his own words. I want to do that again. And I want to talk about why Christy is dead. He says, I don't have any attraction to her, right? And as we go back to the pictures, that's what he's saying. He doesn't have any attraction to her, you know? When I look at that, I'm instantly amazed how beautiful that young girl was. You see this reaction to men all the time to a pretty girl who turns their heads and pulls us around by her nose. To say anything that she was short of amazing is an understatement. If that was a man, was that attractive? I would be jealous, right? I wouldn't want him in the room with me. I certainly wouldn't go out to the bar with him. But Mr. Mickelson says this. Plays the tape, y'all. Didn't care nothing about her, right? Not a bit. And then we go down and we hear this true reaction where he starts getting a little excited. Plays the tape, y'all. And then he goes on to elaborate her. Plays the tape, y'all. That's why he killed her. You know, he's a 5-time convicted felon. He's a devil murderer within. That he's a necrophiliac. He abandoned his kid. What did they say? What name? One thing. Name one other thing than this mercy concept. It just defies imagination. And then we talk about there's some good in him when he's asked, you know, how do you feel about Christy? Tapes played, y'all. I don't feel on that no more. Not really the goodness of the human spirit Mr. Price was talking about. He talks about, you recall, having to deal with her after she's done. Like he's put upon. And you know, that Jordan there is just telling you, she's grown up now, right? And thank God she's made it. You know, she is of age, and this time in her life. When we're graduating high school and walking across the stage, right? And look out there and see mom. Nope, sorry, can't have that. You know, Mickelson has got a kid at the time he's choking the life out of that mother, right? He knows what it is to be a parent. Doesn't really know what it is to be a good parent, but he knows what it is to be someone's who abandons people like that. And the kid's poor effort in reconnection with his homicidal maniac father end up in court as some excuse is disgusting. He's just using the kid, right? Played on your heartstrings. Let that pluck on your heartstrings. Let that pluck on your heartstrings for a minute. Let Paige Dowden pluck on your heartstrings for a minute. You know, when we talk about it in the quantum, and he gets really, really proud of himself, right? For being what he is. He likes it, okay?
You've seen some reaction in court, and I've seen every single one of you look up in that transcript and look over there at him. Some of you have seen what I'm talking about. Some of you haven't. Discuss among yourselves at your heart's content. But he gets visibly excited at being the center of attention. And if what you have seen with your own eyes is not enough, let's listen to what he says to the police. Tape's played, y'all. He wanted a good one. I'm a good one. Good training exercise for a green one, right? He's real excited here. Plays the tape, y'all. Well, if you heard that, how many points is this going to put on you all? How many points is it because I'm pretty cool, right? Okay? All right? Because I'm crazy. Psycho killer, right? Like it's something that's just straight out of Hollywood. That's a movie. Tape played, y'all. You can hear the joy in his voice, right? These people are going to be wanting to burn coming where I'm at. I'm the celebrity. All eyes are on me. I have been dreaming about this moment since 1996, since I killed Christie. And in my head, it has become glorious. So glorious that when I enter the house of Charles Martin, I take a great delight in killing that man. And I want to have Susie with me. And I want to take her with me. But I don't think Susie ever realized is that pretty quickly, if they had gone on down the road, Susie would have been dead because she was a witness, and we don't leave witnesses behind. And we know the only reason that this case is broke is because the efforts of that gentleman right there. Now, Rod Johnson, and you know what I think about that man? This man brought it home. This man convinced this killer that he didn't have a chance, and it was only when he didn't have a chance that the case broke. As it broke, he began to enjoy the macabre scene that he had brought on Caddo Parish. So when we start talking about who this is, who enjoys it, and what he's doing, this is what he thinks about killing multiple people. Tape played, y'all. He's a killer, right? Still feel the grief, right? Talking about multiple people, right? I need you to not have any doubt in your mind as to what the right thing is. You may feel like I'm pummeling you a bit right now, and it is intentional. There can be no mistake. There can be no level of discomfort with it. Yes, we're talking about killing somebody, but we're also talking about doing it for a just purpose. A just purpose. I'm making just as plain as I can for you. I don't want you to go back there and go, oh, well, I wonder what the state thinks. It shouldn't be that. So let's play in your head. Let this play in your head as you make your decision. Let this play in your head. Tape played, y'all. Let this play in your head. Tape played, y'all. Boy, he sure does love that, doesn't he? How about a little bit of that on his house? How about just a hair? Because you know what we're talking about here is going down and doing some time on death row and then effectively being put to sleep. It's not quite the same. I would argue to you, though, it's the best that we can do. It's not just, we aren't even beginning to talk about actual justice. It's not what we believe in our hearts what justice is. Justice is getting things back. Justice is at least as bad as what you was visited upon us. You know, we don't do this to lower crimes, but because it's so important when you get up here in these ultimate harms that the law still provides for the death penalty. That's why, that is the great of why we are here. Because those people need it. The parish needs it. Now you got this area of his family that I need to address. You got his brother with a kidney ailment, and I'm sorry for that man. I sure am. But it doesn't remove the fact that his brother is why there's not that kidney available or the possibility. And now I'm talking about possibilities because I don't know. But I would suggest to you that there is time to make whatever arrangements they need to make pretty simple. And that's no matter where he is. So I do have sympathy for his brother. He doesn't belong here. He put his brother here, all right? And then his mother. His mother. Now, she was a pretty sad figure, you know? I don't wish anything bad on her, but I've got one telling piece of evidence about that. Tape played, y'all. Right. The investigation back in 96 goes into 97. Those deputies are out there, she knows. I tell you right now, if my kids get in trouble, I don't care. I don't defend them. I didn't care. I don't really hold it against her, but she knows. She knows it's time to give him up. That's my point. Now, I want to leave you with a couple different things. And first is Mr. Mickelson's message to you. Tape played, y'all. How are you going to answer that, right? How? Now we're inside. Now we see what he is, right? You've heard his doctors. His doctors did not back off. We're not saying he doesn't really know what's wrong, right? They don't say that. In fact, they get really hesitant about actually speaking the words of a diagnosis, right? You saw that. They kept wanting to say he's a schizophrenic, and kept using that modified, right? And they just kept kind of breathing on it. And then the family, they give us this schizophrenic disorder. Well, fine, because people have these disorders and they are treated every day. They walk among us. Some of you have them in your family, okay? All of us are affected by different things. Chemical dependency comes to our lives. All of these things that we've talked about, we deal with. You stand up and you walk the line and you walk it straight. I've already told you, I do it for my children every day. I need you to do it because justice demands this, demands it. And just in case anybody is thinking this ludicrous thought, oh my God, life would be worse in prison because it's so terrible. I would suggest to you that it's not. I would suggest to you that within the realm of your experience, you've heard about things like the Angola rodeo. You have a truer measure of life, what life down there is really like. But just in case you don't believe any of that, I can tell you what Eric thinks and what he'd rather have. Tape played, y'all.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Get to let my spirit entertain my flesh a little bit longer in the world, and every day you let him exist. Every day that you let him go on, every day that you let him is an injustice. So there's a clear expression of everything I know to tell you. I didn't hit every single thing Mr. Price said. I disagreed with it 100% down the line. I think it was clear from how we asked our questions, where we're coming from. And you know what this case decides. You know what needs to be done. And I've been a part of this process that has selected you because we trusted you. All of us trust you. Please take a look at them before you go in there. Focus on them. Paige, Jordan, Phil, anybody else in the audience that I can't see because I'm arguing, take them with you. Take Mr. Martin's harmonica with you. Think about Caden, his grandchild, and his great-grandchild. Take that with you. There's only one thing. It's death. I tell you this every time, it is my honor to get to announce this and ask this from you, and I appreciate everything that you have done. Please honor me. Please honor all of us with a good verdict. Thank you. The court. All right. I would ask the deputy sheriff to assist providing a copy of the jury instructions, etc. All right, y'all, listen. This rest of it, the lawyers have agreed upon what can be said and can't be said in the judge's instructions to the jury. And what that is called charging the jury. And the jury receives instructions on what they are allowed and aren't allowed to consider before going back to find Eric Milkson guilty of the death penalty or give him the death penalty. And it's long. I'm not going to get into it, but it is. They talk about Christio Pride and that the body wasn't found and all that, but he confessed to it and what have you. So I'm just fast forward to the jury comes back, right? They come back in the courtroom.
So the jury comes back in the courtroom. I'm beginning with the judge's voice. The court. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge says, as soon as the defendant is present, we will then get the alternates in here and we'll have the jury of 12 come in and the verdict will be read. I do not want any reaction to the jury at all. We respect the verdict of the jury, whatever it is, and therefore don't have any reaction, no shrieks, no applause, no anything, please. And then he goes on about cell phones again, y'all. Only turn it off, etc. And let's get to it. The court, please bring the jury in. I do want to state for the record that the time is 8:08 p.m. The defendant is present with his lawyers. The state is present through the assistant district attorneys and the district attorney, Charles Scott. Bring them in. The jury enters the courtroom. The court. Please be seated. Miss Miller, has the jury reached a verdict? The foreman. Yes, sir, we have. The court. Please hand the verdict to the deputy sheriff. Miss Miller, the jury will need to go back to the jury room and write out the actual verdict, please. Write it out, date it, sign it on the form. Again, they bring them back in the court. Miss Miller, please hand the verdict to the deputy sheriff and please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please listen to your verdict. Having found the below listed statutory aggravating circumstances or circumstances and after consideration of the mitigating circumstances offered, the jury unanimously determines that the defendant, Eric Dale Mickelson, shall be sentenced to death. Aggravating circumstances found. Number 1, the offender was engaged in the perpetration or attempted perpetration of aggravated burglary, perpetration of simple robbery of Charles Martin. The victim was 65 years of age or older. Ladies and gentlemen, is this your verdict? The jury says, yes, sir. The court. Does either side desire the jury to be polled? Mr. Price. Yes, sir, we do. The court. I will hand the verdict form to the deputy clerk. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a procedure authorized by law. Please answer yes or no to the question by the deputy clerk. And the clerk says, Jose Garcia, the verdict rendered is death. Jose Garcia, is this your verdict? Juror Garcia, yes. Tokara Williams, the verdict rendered is death. Tokara Williams, is this your verdict? Williams, yes. Karen Miller, the verdict rendered is death. Karen Miller, is this your verdict? Karen, yes. Maddie Mosley, the verdict rendered is death. Maddie Mosley, is this your verdict? Juror Mosley, yes. Clerk. Troy O'Quinn Jr., the verdict rendered is death. Troy O'Quinn Jr., is this your verdict? Juror O'Quinn, yes. Clerk. Noel Moore, the verdict rendered is death. Noel Moore, is this your verdict? Juror Moore, yes. Janet Sinclair, the verdict rendered is death. Janet Sinclair, is this your verdict? Janet Sinclair, yes. Clerk. Howard Levine, the verdict rendered is death. Howard Levine, is this your verdict? Juror Levine, yes. Clerk. Melanie Rogers, the verdict rendered is death. Melanie Rogers, is this your verdict? Juror Rogers, yes. Clerk. Jessica Brown, the verdict rendered is death. Jessica Brown, is this your verdict? Juror Brown, yes. Clerk. Ann Higdon, the verdict rendered is death. Ann Higdon, is this your verdict? Juror Higdon, yes. Clerk. Lauren LeBlanc, the verdict rendered is death. Lauren LeBlanc, is this your verdict? Juror LeBlanc, yes. The court. All right.
Thank you. The record, of course, should reflect that the jury is unanimous on its finding. I would order that the verdict form be filled and be made part of these proceedings. I will also file into the record the list of the aggravating circumstances and the list of mitigating circumstances that the jury had in the jury deliberation room, and this will conclude these proceedings. And he goes on to thank the jury all and all that, and they give him a sentencing date, and guess what happened? Eric Mickelson got sentenced to death for choking Mr. Charles Martin to death, and he was in his 80s, y'all. And first of all, for breaking in the house, commit a robbery, and then killing Charles Martin, choking him, and cutting up his body and disposing it. But they caught him, and the jury of his peers voted death. But it wasn't for Christy O'Pry. He admitted to it, y'all, and there's hundreds and hundreds of pages of him confessing to murdering Christy O'Pry and having sex with her dead body and wading it down in the pond and going back to visit her again. What the fuck? And she's floating now because her body's bloated and the birds are eating on her and they've eaten her eyes out and all that, so he has to take her out of the pond and cut her up. And he scatters her throughout the parish, like that drainage ditch I told you about, the little creek that had been dug out where the culvert was. He took them there. 11 years had passed. The rest of her body had gone to the dump through various dumpsters, like he tried to do with Charles Martin. Same way he took him and showed him what he did. And he was proud of it, y'all, because he's a serial killer. And I'm betting you dollars to donuts he's got more bodies on him. And what I mean by that, he has killed before. He killed between the time that he killed Christy O'Pry and had sex with her dead body and cut her up. He didn't wait all those years just to kill the next person. You get a taste of blood, you're a killer like that, he's got more. So the call to action I'm going to do, y'all, and I'm going to give you a little preface on it right now. I'm going to call upon the powers that be, and especially in the jurisdictions that Eric Mickelson lived in the time between Christy O'Pry's disappearance, which we now know is murder, and the time he got arrested for killing Charles Martin. And I'll tell you why on the next episode, and it'll be the last since the call to action, and then we're starting a new season of Real Life, Real Crime. And I just want to thank all of y'all. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. This has been the longest series I've ever done. But you know, I built this platform through y'all over all these years, going on 6 years now. And I think that if we have a chance of doing some good with it, it's our duty. And I thank y'all for listening, and I love and appreciate each and every one of you. LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. If you want to be an organ donor, you don't have to be from Louisiana. You can be an organ donor from Hawaii. Go to lopa.org and fill out the questionnaire and give the gift of life and sight and all the great things those people do. And they're a nonprofit, and that's why we support them. And they're saving lives every day. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Oh, real quick, y'all go follow me on TikTok. It's Real Life, Real Crime on TikTok. Go follow our app, a Real Life, Real Crime community app. If you get a chance, leave us a review and please continue to share. I promise you, I'm going back to the old cop story as soon as I wrap this up. I love and appreciate you, every one of y'all. I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time or ever,
Don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?